All right, everyone, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Rockland's News. Right now it's 80 degrees and mostly cloudy, a little bit of sun peeking through the clouds. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be mid-70s to low 80s. A lot of sun. Great time for autumn. Great time to get out there and have some nice, fun, family-friendly activities. We've got a bunch of sponsors to thank. First of all, as always, Yahoo Fence Company, Dana Pest Control, Kobe Sushi, located in New City, New York, 202 Cannabis, Susan Bover, Coldwell Banker Realty, Warren Molino Muller, Full Shot Bagels, 99 Signs, and of course the Workforce Development Board of Rockland County. My name is Tom Osa, and I am very pleased to have on the podcast someone that I hold in pretty high regard, and I know him for some time through the Rockland Business Association, and I'm happy to welcome for the first time on AM Rockland Al Samuels, who's been the CEO of Rockland's Business Association for quite some time, and he's recently brought in a team over the last year that is going to carry on some of the structure that has been built up over the years under Al. Al, thanks for being on AM Rockland's News today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Tom. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a chance to speak this morning at the RBA Small Business Forum. I think Andy's doing an amazing job over there. We learned a lot from John Sandak from Outsource My IT, as well as our friend Aaron from Rockland Digital Media. Yeah, how do you think it went? I think it was a really good presentation.
There were two very nice presentations. These are two very knowledgeable individuals, and I got very nice comment about that. But Andy Kay is who you were referring to, and Andy is chairing our Small Business Council, which is a startup council. The RBA has a number of them covering different segments of Rockland's business community, and that's something that we can get into because those are yes. But I wanted to share. I mean, since this is the first time that I'm on with you, I would hope that folks that might have tuned into my broadcast on WRCR, are now, with you on your podcast and listening to what you're doing. But even with that, I would have to imagine that there are many, many people that you have, tuned into you that maybe weren't involved with RCR. And frankly, maybe they don't know very much about the RBA. And it just so happens that 2 weeks ago, I was attending the New York State Business Council's annual meeting upstate New York in the Lake George area. I've been attending that for 20 some odd years. But this year it was very special because they were recognizing the RBA for 50 years of membership.
All right.
And I was sitting there waiting to be called up to get this recognition. And I was thinking back about my years. I have 28 years of involvement with the state council, how it had benefited me. And I started thinking, what have we done in the RBA that have benefited the people of Rockland, not just the business community, because even though we're a business association, our bylaws require that we contribute to community and that we work with, local officials. It reminded me of something that I have carried with me since my freshman year in college. I was reading a lot of philosophy books back when I was 17. And yes, you don't know about that, do you, my friend?
Well, no, I definitely learned a wide range of philosophies, and the significant question in all of them is the word why.
Why? So
Why do these
I
things
don't know
happen?
if you're
Yeah.
familiar with Camus, and in one of his books, one of his writings, The Rebel, an essay
Uh-huh.
on man in revolt.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
I
it.
was more
Okay.
John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism, but
Yeah.
certainly I hold it in regard.
Well, in the last paragraph of this particular publication, he says, all may indeed live again, but on condition that it is understood that they correct each other and that a limit under the sun shall curb them all. I have
Mm,
always believed that if it wasn't true, it should be. And I've tried to live my life where, even though I have been confrontational at times, and there are often times when people do not agree with things that I advance or will applaud that we have done as an organization. Uh, there was always an opportunity for the other side. Unfortunately, in more recent times, we have a culture that really doesn't accommodate that anymore, and that's very troubling to me. I'm looking at my watch. We're 11 minutes shy of 8 hours of having, a government shutdown.
yeah,
And I'm really concerned that that's going to happen. And there's going to be a lot of pain felt by individuals. I feel like I say, very concerned, about that. Uh, I take a look at, well, New York City.
hmm,
If there is a venue where capitalism rules, I would say it's New York City. And yet, in a month or so, New York City may be facing a very, and I'm going to, editorialize, a
yeah.
very dangerous socialist mayor. Uh, and I'm concerned about that because New York City doesn't operate in a vacuum. A lot of things that occur in New York City affect all of us in New
Right.
York State. The personal income tax collected from the financial community goes a long way, in helping to finance things that we have, that we do, and that we need in New York State.
Hmm.
So I'm concerned, about that. But I really was, going back in my mind, and I remembered that there was something that I wrote some years ago about the RBA and its contributions, and I would really just like to uh, share that with your audience so that they have a better idea, perhaps, of the range of things that the RBA has done, the
Right.
contributions and the benefits that it has brought. And so I'm going to read from what I had written some years ago.
Yeah, please
I
do.
wonder if people recognize or know or remember that uh, the RBA is responsible for the creation of our Leadership Rockland program, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who listen to you that probably went through that program. Uh, we're
Certainly.
also responsible for the creation of our county's industrial development agency, and more than both of those, we led the charge for an executive form of government. So those are three, I think, fairly significant things. But I know I can go on, and I am going to go on because you're giving me the opportunity to do it.
I've
The
been waiting
RBA
for
has,
a long time to get you on the podcast, and for those
I know you have.
listening,
So let me go
before you
through
go,
a
Eric,
little bit.
before,
I
go in,
know
I
this is a
just have
little
to
bit of bragging.
just for one moment. I just have to interject for those that are listening. All right. So this goes back almost a year and a half when we started doing the live stream. And I went up to Al at a few meetings. I was like, can we get you on the podcast? And I was really excited. And I'm not trying to like be like that, but it was because I know that you look at the numbers. One, I know you look at the facts too, but it's a rare triad to be able to communicate those facts and figures and have a shape and opinion based on those. And that's the thing that I find is most important for the future of delivering news is back to facts and figures. So with that, I'm going to take a step back. Please,
Yeah.
you have the floor.
Well, I'm not gonna bore people with a lot of figures, but these are fact. And I'm gonna skip to some other paragraph that I had in mind next because of what you said. The RBA has twice been recognized as the Best of Business honoree by the Small Business Commerce Association.
Mhm.
In 2001, we were voted New York State Small Business Not-for-Profit of the Year. We won a Regional Achievement Award in 2009 from Pattern for Progress, our regional think tank. And in 2010, The RBA was named the State Business Council's first platinum level chamber of the year. And that's one that I'm really proud of. Interestingly, that award is now called, it's named after someone, Chuck Steiner, who was just a wonder in our industry of chambers of commerce. The man was just fantastic at what he did. He's no longer with us, and they changed the award. This year, interestingly, the Orange County Chamber won that, and that made me think back that the RBA won the first one.
Okay.
And I don't think people know that. I don't think people in the RBA know that. Uh, there were a lot of significant contributions to local and regional communities within Rockland. White papers that we published in 2012 and 2016 that address the fiscal stress issues in Rockland County. And by the way, these are still available on our website, rocklandbusiness.org, because they were that significant. The white paper of 2012 actually changed both the elected and staff leadership that led Rockland in a 7-year fiscal spiral that earned us the title of most fiscally stressed county in New York. Today, because another administration came in, and it's the current administration, used a lot of what we had presented in our findings, which were refined by Patton. We actually hired Patton for Progress to actually put this, all together. And today, Rockland County has a AAA fiscal rating, and I'm not sure if there's another county in the state that has a AAA rating. If there is, God bless them, but I know that we do. And I take a great deal of pride on behalf of the organization because it was very bold to do what we did. We alienated friends. We alienated some elected officials. We alienated some business people. We alienated some communities, within Rockland. But no one was willing to bring to the public forum the reasons that we were the most fiscally stressed. We did that. And that's
Mhm.
something that I think that, people they should know that. Uh,
Now, within that context, all right, so you made a decision, the team made a decision to, and with Paradigm for Progress, um, the team made the decision to essentially research, shape, and release the report.
That's
What?
correct. I spent if I might, I spent 9 months
Mhm.
researching the data. I worked very closely with the state controller's office, Tom DiNapoli. Uh, a lot of people say government should be more like business, and I wanted to find out if there was real truth in that. And so I went to the state controller and I said, I would like to know what your thoughts are and the thoughts of your staff, about that statement.
Right.
Can government really act like, business? And really it can't. It can in some areas maybe, but they were so kind. They were so gracious. They helped put together the foundation building block of that white paper of 2012, uh, and established a great relationship with the RBA and with our county executive. And I saw Controller DiNapoli at uh, the annual meeting that I was at, and just came up behind me at a meeting. I didn't know who it was,
Mhm.
and got me in the back of the neck and wanted to know what's happening in Rockland these days because he really feels an attachment to Rockland County. So I'm very proud, of the fact that the RBA was willing to go out on the limb to share with the people of Rockland what was necessary so that we could help correct that fiscal spiral that we were in. And it worked. It took it, what, 10, 12 years, but it absolutely worked. So we're very proud of that. You may not remember it, but 25, 26, 7 years ago, there was something called the living wage movement. It was a movement to impose arbitrary wage rates on our businesses. And
Oh, yeah. No, that's like Atlas
Rockland,
shrugged.
yeah,
Atlas shrugged all
Ro-
over.
Rockland is a small business community. In fact, we could say it's a micro business community. and it has difficulties. And so one of the things that we always look to do, is to assist, that community. We fought back and turned back the living wage movement. And then years later, when the fight for 15 led to an increase in minimum wage and a
Mhm.
difference in what was required if you were upstate or downstate, the RBA, with assistance from uh, a legislator, a state assembly person,
Mhm.
was able to get Rockland included in the upstate designation so that our small businesses weren't burdened with the same sort of increases that Westchester, New York City, and Long Island had. And that legislator is our president now, Ken Zabrowski. So
Right.
that's
Right.
just an interesting
Yeah.
sidebar.
And
Uh,
I'm gonna add to this is that, for those that might think that, raising the minimum wage to a high level, one must remember that, let's talk about your typical restaurant retail business. They're operating, when everything is said and done. Now I'm talking about a small business. I'm not talking about McDonald's. They're operating on a 3 to 5% profit margin. So as the wages increase, it becomes more difficult to even have even just a simple quality of life. So that's all I'm going to add to that. But
Okay. Well, I only have a couple of more things that I wanted to mention. Uh, One of the things about which I am most proud, of course, are those white papers. The other was our involvement in getting a replacement for the old Tappan Zee Bridge, which, if you'll
yeah,
recall, and I know you will, where 4.5 foot square sections were just dropping into the river, and we had those infamous steel plates
uh huh,
covering those holes. And this is not just being braggadocious, if there really is such a word, but it's
yeah,
commonplace in in the language today. Uh, there was a book written about the that project. It's called Politics Across the Hudson, the Tappan Zee Mega Project, and it was written by a gentleman named Philip Plotch. Uh, he did call me. He did interview me over the phone, and I just felt he was, getting background information. And yet, when that book came out, in the different appendices that he had one on key players. There were 27 key players that he identified in actually getting the new bridge built. There
hmm,
were two from Rockland County, then County Executive Scott Vanderhoff, and myself in my role as president of the RBA. So the RBA and the county executive at the time were recognized as key players in getting this done. And I am truly most proud about that. I know we didn't get the mass transit, and there were many reasons why, but we have a safe crossing, and
yeah.
people aren't going. Yes,
For,
and I was really concerned because I had seen the results of the Mianus River Bridge, but that's another story, that collapse in Connecticut. I certainly didn't want to see that, in the Hudson. So that was something that we're very proud of, and it's fact. It's fact because, you know, it's in the book, and
yeah,
no one has challenged it. This is the definitive publication. This is a hardcover, publication. This is the definitive publication on the politics behind the
mhm.
construction of that bridge.
And I'm
So
looking
that was
at
something I wanted people to know.
copy of it on Amazon, and I'm looking at one of the chapters. It's called Engineering Issues. According to a former chief engineer at the Thruway Authority, Dewey chose the worst possible place to build a bridge. The George Washington Bridge to the south is 4,760 feet long, and the Bear Mountain Bridge to the north extends for 2,225 feet. A bridge at the Tappan Zee is over 16,000 feet in length. So,
But
obviously,
do you know why that was done?
um, not at the moment, no.
It was to keep it out of the area controlled by the New York Bridge and Tunnel Authority.
Really,
Yes, that was the reason.
might have been a blessing in disguise.
Maybe. So it became part of the New York State Thruway. And I'll kind of end this because I see it's my God in heaven. We've been talking for 26.
It
Well,
goes quick, right?
it goes quickly. Yes, we also led the charge for the 14B interchange on the New York State Thruway. And I
Yes.
know you know about that because you told me about people you knew who were involved in that as well.
Yes, the
So
late Armand Mealy over at Rock.
Armin Millie, yes.
He was a good dude. I know him
So
well.
there's a lot of stuff in there that benefited not just the businesses of Rockland, but the people of Rockland and beyond. Some of the stuff like the bridge, that's a regional, project. That's a statewide project that has allowed for not only commerce but tourism. It's a provided for people to relocate, to come into the Hudson Valley, to come to Rockland. I moved to Rockland in 1965,
Right.
and I know that the old bridge was a big factor in changing the look of Rockland County.
Oh
This
yeah.
this new bridge is just continuing that.
And the population of Rockland increased by approximately 30% over the next, I want to say, 25 years. No, maybe 40 years, because I remember it was the 90s, which was that figure. So, and we see other patterns that have emerged. For instance, obviously there was a worldwide pandemic that caused people to migrate and consider different locations outside of the city. Well, coincidentally, the bridge was built, so it created a little bit of a smoother channel into Rockland from Westchester and the city. And I'm curious to see what the population of Rockland's going to be in 2030.
Well, we have been growing. In fact, except for a fractional growth in Orange County, Rockland is the only county that has shown greater population, mostly through a higher birth rate than the other counties in the region. But we
Mhm.
also had, as you said, during COVID, we had people move to the Hudson Valley to include Rockland County. Although I think maybe further north from us, maybe Ulster County benefited a little bit more of people who moved to our area rather than stay in New York City. And when I say New York City, I'm not just talking about Manhattan. New York City is actually the five counties or five boroughs, as we refer to them,
Right.
that make up the city. It's not just Manhattan.
Hmm. Last question as we're nearing the 4:30 mark.
Yeah.
We see the amount of redevelopment that's occurring inside of Rockland County, transit oriented development, and obviously not the regulation component of it, but the concept, if you will, of having smoother transportation using alternative means to get into the city. Where do you see that going over the next several years?
Well, the new tunnel project that's finally moving forward, we might be able to see some true results in 10 years. It would take that long and maybe longer.
Got it.
Uh, but rail is the key.
Yeah, agree.
Rail is truly the key, and you need a one seat ride into Manhattan, and you need it on a dual track as they have it over on the east bank of the Hudson. And
Hmm.
that's very difficult for a number of reasons. We don't have the land, to have the track laid so that we can have, and it's one of the reasons why we didn't have it on the original, construction of the new bridge.
Right.
Uh, the cost was initially, when I got involved, the cost for that would have been $16 billion. And clearly, when the new bridge was built, it was significantly greater than that.
Right.
And there is an issue about that. When you get off the Tappan Zee Bridge, there is an incline, an upward incline, not that steep, but very steady. And the trains of today that are on the Metro North lines weren't going to make that. So that was part of the problem as to why we didn't get. Uh, that was one. The dollars were another, and
Hmm.
then where does the train go? Once it gets into Rockland County, we don't have land to put more track on. Are we going to build elevated? There was an awful lot of resistance to that.
I'm sure.
But we do have the safe crossing. And every time I go across that, I do get a tinge of pride and satisfaction. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful bridge. We have uh, Channel 4, their news broadcast. That bridge is always visible. it's like it's become an icon for the area, not just for Rockland and Westchester.
Yeah, good symbol. Just leading people into the county, leading them out, and a welcoming atmosphere going over the bridge. And the lights are beautiful. I'm a big
Oh, the lights are great at night. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Big fan of the lights. We just did the Rockland Music Fest over at Clover Stadium, and one of the most important elements was adding in good light show. So I think if we didn't have that, it would have been a different atmosphere. But the lights just make it beautiful.
And I trust that that went well for you because we were
Yeah,
involved to some degree. We believe in that,
yeah. Thank
and
you for
we're
sending out.
looking forward to that being expanded next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our charitable recipient was Meals on Wheels. So it was like one of those things where music's in my fiber, but just being able to add Meals on Wheels on as the charitable recipient, it just feels like it's uh, for lack of a better term, a complete circle. Does that make sense? And
Yes, it does because it was beneficial for you from a marketing standpoint, and it was beneficial to one of our most worthy, 501c3 organizations. So
yes,
that to me is the circle. Yeah.
very cool. Well, Al, like I said, I've been hoping for having you on the podcast and live stream, quite frankly, for some time. Thank you for being on. I hope you'll join us once again. If you could stay on for just a moment afterwards, I just wanted to close out with you. But Al Samuels from the Rockland Business Association, thank you for being here today. And we're just going to talk about our sponsors just very briefly. Just a quick thank you once again to Yabu Fence Company. Yabu! Great fence company located in West Nyack, New York. Also sponsors of the previous festival. As mentioned, Dana Pest Control, Kobe Sushi, 202 Cannabis, Susan Bova, Coldwell Banker Realty, Arnelino Muller, Howard Hanaran Realty, Old Shop Bagels, 99 Signs, and our friends over at the Workforce Development Board of Rockland County. This podcast is available several times a week on Facebook, as well as Apple and Spotify. Our news publication, rocklandnews.com, typically posts approximately 20 articles per week on a variety of topics that matter to you most. But until next time, my name is Tom Osa from Rockland News, and we hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care for now.